Welcome to Kaleidoscope. Today we have Mr. Kuruvilla Kurian from Aristo India with us today. So Mr. Kuru is the Executive Director of Aristo India, and he has played a pivotal role in the growth of Aristo India, and he has a vast experience, around 30 years across manufacturing, strategy, sustainability, and he brings with him a very rich experience today to share it with all of us. So welcome, Mr. Kuru.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's talk about Aristo India. Aristo India, if you take, it's a joint venture. It has its global roots as well as a rich Indian legacy. So coming together, can you walk us through the growth journey of Aristo India?
Sure.
And what were the important points that we wish to remember?
Yeah, it was an interesting marriage actually, because Aristo is a 30-year-old company based out of Russia, and it's present all over CIS, Southeast Asia, Australia, parts of North America. And of course, we were an Indian company, and we have about close to 50 years of experience in cabinetry. And it was interesting because we actually initially started importing the Aristo systems for our own interior projects. And over time we realized, hey, this is a great product, and we realized it has legs of its own, and then we started selling Aristo, the sliding system, as an independent product, independent of the cabinetry. I would say the rest is history, because that really caught fire, and people took to it very well, and now we're a well-known brand in the interior space.
So along the line, like during the growth journey, anything interesting to remember?
Yeah, actually I would say the joint venture did not come immediately, right? So it came because we really took interest in the product, and we spent a lot of time and energy, not only in our own factory and within our own team, but we actually spent a lot of time at clients' premises trying to understand what their needs were, what the feedback was, making changes and modifications on the way, and we evolved the product over many years. And then we kept adding to the product portfolio. We added more profiles. So we had added some premium profiles like the Nova, and we added some new applications like partition systems and slide fold swing. These are all and additional product extensions to the regular sliding product, which was known for wardrobe shutters. And then of course we had a lot of new finishes as well, and a lot of the finishes we pioneered were like fabric sandwiches, or cane, or divider designs, like the diagonal designs we call the mosaic, and the vertical designs which we call the tesseract. So a lot of product expansion happened, and I would say that over time we've been a good sponge, because we really interacted well with the market, and absorbed all the feedback, and grew the product line over time. Yeah.
So coming to this specific product line that you're talking about, Aristo has been developing advanced wardrobe systems for over a decade, more than a decade. So now we see in the industry, a lot of people are also doing the same. There are a lot of copycats, I would say. So how do you stay ahead of the curve? Like what is the differentiator basically?
Yeah, actually, I would say a couple things. One is we were able to scale, okay, and there are probably only 2 or 3 companies which have actually been able to scale, and we still remain the 800-pound gorilla in the floor-to-ceiling segment. Most of the competition are local players. So there are 2-3 guys in Bangalore, there are 2-3 guys in Hyderabad, there are a few guys in the Bombay-Pune belt, but there are no real good pan-India players in this game. And so that sets us apart from the competition for a few things. One is of course quality. Okay, everybody knows that there are cheaper products available, but people who are particular about the quality. And the fact is, if you see the Indian demographic, people have changed. Their aspirations have changed, their needs and wants have changed. People are moving up the ladder in terms of their socioeconomic, and when you reach a particular socioeconomic, you're looking at peer sets around you, like how do I get this level of product. I also think that as you go up the socioeconomic curve, people also look for convenience, number one, and number two is just how does it save them time as well, right? And we all know that buying poor quality products, you may save some money up front, But over the life of the product, if you have continuous breakdowns and maintenance issues and so on, and so people are willing to pay the price. And of course, we also kept our prices quite stable over the past 14 years. In fact, in the past 14 years, I would say we've done a few price increases, but we're probably the only company to have done 2 price reductions as well in the last 14 years. And that's because of material optimization, efficiencies, scale, and no one else has been able to actually drop prices. In fact, recently as well, we dropped prices again.
Do you think doing it at scale has brought in this kind of optimization?
Oh yes, for sure. I mean, we're able to optimize both on materials, not only on the profiles, but on the infills, and also on just efficiencies, right? And so all of that has come largely because of scale. And scale is definitely, it's an advantage we have today, but it's not a easy to build advantage, for sure. That's for sure.
So what kind of systems went into it, to scale?
So I think a couple things. One is, and I see this vis-a-vis the companies that were the same size as us maybe 10 years ago, and then today we're about 100 crores. And I don't see a lot of the companies that were our peers earlier have crossed 25-30 crores. And I think crossing that 25-30 crore benchmark requires a couple things. One is it requires investment in people. And I see the small companies or family-owned companies, they're reluctant to hire people at senior levels. Okay, so they're mostly dependent on family members or old trusted people within the businesses, but they're reluctant to hire professionals from outside. And I think that's one thing that helped us, for sure. And a lot of the people have been with us for a long time. They've grown up into very senior roles. We've taken senior people from other companies as well. So we have actually a very good, I would say, that vice president, general manager level, we have a very good team of people across and in different functions. The second thing is, of course, as you mentioned, is systems, of course. So we did invest quite a lot into, foundational systems. And I would say systems is really 2 things, right? One is, of course, your software and computer systems and so on. And second is actually the building of the processes that you need to run this, and both go hand in hand. I can say that, one
complements.
Yeah, exactly. They go step in step, it's not that one at the exclusion of the other. And a lot of time has been spent on this. And today we have some very good fundamental softwares in place, of course, ERP, CRM, design software, manufacturing software. So, and that really gives the foothold and the foundation for us to grow.
So now everybody is talking about trends. There's a talk about what is new. So if you talk to any architect or any designer, they want something very, very new. So you've been in the industry for over a decade. So how do you stay ahead of the trend? Because being relevant or staying relevant is very, very important.
Yeah, it is difficult, and typically you'd ideally like a product life cycle of at least 4 to 5 years. But in today's day and age, when people can see the latest and see international trends very quickly, that period is probably a new design lasts like 2 years, and then people then it's old hat. People want something new. But we have actually invested quite a bit, and I told you, apart from the fact that we really work very closely with when I say partners, both customers, architects, designers, interior companies. Apart from that, we travel a lot, and we do visit trade shows across the world. We have our own dedicated new product development team. So we have a team roughly about, I think it's about 8 or 10 people, and so it's led by a senior leader. And so that team is tasked, and in fact, my partner Thomas Marcos, who's a director, he actually heads the new product development function, and it's a very important part of our progress. Yeah.
So do you think all these trade shows that you travel to contribute to creating new products or innovative products?
Of course it does. You see new product trends, you see new business concepts, you see new functionalities that customers could use, and some of these functionalities are like kind of sleeper functionalities, in the sense, when I say sleeper, it's like initially you kind of keep wondering, will this sell, not sell, but you try it, you don't understand, and then suddenly something clicks somewhere.
More of an experimentation. So when you introduce a new product. So do you test the acceptance initially with a certain set of people?
I won't say that. We ask around. So there is a small dipstick test, but then we try to launch it across markets and then see what the acceptance is. And then, of course, we try to go back into houses that we've already set up, maybe after a point, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then speak to the customers and understand how they're interacting with the product, what they find useful, what they're facing issues with. And then we use that input and bake it back into materials, manufacturing designs, and so on. Yeah.
So now, generally as a market leader, the one thing that is very, very significant in differentiating is how they build the ecosystem. So you have a wonderful partner network. You boast to say around 400 plus partners in B2B. So consisting of dealers, architects, franchisees. So how do you build, grow and align with them? So which you take them together on your journey?
I think we have an extensive sales team across the country, and I feel calling them a sales team doesn't pay justice. I prefer to use the term which you find engineering companies using, which is an engineering consultant or sales consultant. And really that's what we do, right? We go in, sit with our dealer partners, architects, interior designers, modular companies, and we help them to go through the journey of why a floor-to-ceiling door, okay, as compared to other doors. Of course, there are many different advantages, right? The chief being aesthetics, right? I mean, it just looks so much better than your typical laminated openable doors. And customers are also now demanding premium products in their home, right? So it's a good fit. For dealer partners also, we help them to help their teams upsell their customers on the floor-to-ceiling. Okay, and that's also a very important part, because when you can convert an openable wardrobe into a floor-to-ceiling wardrobe, I mean, it's good for the customer, of course, but it comes at a price. Okay, now how do designers and salespeople at the dealer side gain that confidence to sell the product? And that's something that we've been working a lot on in partnering with our dealer partners.
So there's a lot of trust that you build with them, so they're confident that...
Exactly. I think part of the confidence has also come from our business model. We don't sell just the hardware, which is typical of other product companies in our industry. So right from the beginning, we've been selling this as a solution. So product plus transportation, installation, service, the whole gamut of, the whole thing. And this gave a lot of comfort to our dealer partners. They know that, if I can sell an Aristo, it's headache-free. They know the outcome is going to be good. They know their customers are going to be happy. And this is a very important part, because to be honest, we all know interior projects are extremely complicated, right? So if you have one great thing in your project, like an Aristo wardrobe,
and that is Aristo.
At least the customers have a comfort from that.
That's a wonderful thing.
So it is a complex business. I have to really appreciate everybody who gets into this business. It looks like an easy business to get into, but very few people actually become really truly successful, because it is at the end of the day very complicated.
Great. So you've been into cabinetry even before Aristo. So for 30 years, I would say there's been a lot of development in that area, right from carpenters working in the houses to something that is done in a factory, which is even more so, more system-led, design-led. So where is Aristo leading in this space? Where can we see Aristo leading in the cabinetry and modular interiors?
So it's a very large market, okay, and there are segments all across, right from the top to the bottom, right? So at the top of the spectrum, you have your imported, and there are very good brands in that space, Veneta, Hecker, Scavoloni. For want of another word, I would call it a service-based interior. A service-based interior is where the provider, which is typically a freelance interior designer or maybe a contractor with a couple carpenter teams, so they are willing to do anything and everything, right? So typically their inspiration comes from Pinterest, Google Images, And a lot of these images are made by draftsmen sitting in a room and who have absolutely no context of what is practical and not practical. But the reality is that carpenters can do anything, right? You tell them to build a Taj Mahal hanging from your roof, they can do it, right? Whether it is easy, whether it is sustainable in terms of maintenance and longevity, whether the project stays within the cost framework, all of these are big question marks when you're at that level. So where we operate is, we're an Indian product company and with very strong European roots, okay? So as an Indian product company, what that means is we have a product based on a catalog. But even when I say a product based on a catalog, there are just so many options. It's just almost impossible for any two homes to look alike, okay? Because there are options in terms of modules, in terms of finishes, in terms of colors, in terms of materials. But you need an underlying framework to organize that, right? Because what the customer tells you, you need to understand at least in some form. And you should be able to backward integrate that across the whole supply chain, right? From material procurement to production design to machining, and procurement. For everything to go through seamlessly, there has to be a framework. Customers who go with the typical independent interior company or carpenter, I would say that they'd be lucky if they get what they originally anticipated, okay? But people are always attracted to that. Pricing is low. And even this concept of pricing is low in my mind is a bit of a myth, because what happens is there's always price creep, okay? So when you come to a large organized company like Aristo or one of the other large companies, when you get a quote, that is what you pay. You don't really pay anything over and above that, unless the customers change the scope. But that doesn't happen with freelance and with local carpenters, because there's always some scope creep.
Beyond product and innovation, how is Aristo contributing to skilling, training and development?
So there are a couple things that we do. For our product segment, there are primarily two things that we're doing. One is skilling of designers and salespeople, okay? It is a technical product, okay? And you need to understand the nuances before you can configure the product. So we do spend a lot of time with our dealer partners, our architect partners. We work with select hardware stores as well. We work with them on training their teams, designers and so on. Apart from that, we give them tools. Okay, so we have a good set of tools, right from CRM to quotation tools, okay, softwares. We have a phone-based quotation tool. We call it the InstaQuote, and within seconds you can get quotations for doors. Then we have the whole actual design software. Okay, so we train our designer partners to use that software. If they can draw it on the software, almost always we can produce that. Okay, if they cannot design it on the software, then we need to actually do a verification whether this product can be made or not made. Yeah. So this is both for sliding doors as well as for full cabinetry products as well. If you can do a cabinetry product in our software, then it's almost certain that we can actually start the production the very next day. That software integrates directly to our machines. Okay, recently we've also moved into scaling up carpenters and contractors, and we've seen a lot of them already have a good understanding of how to install a floor-to-ceiling product. But we wanted to train them so that they get the real small nuances. For example, just the fine-tuning, like alignments, how do soft close work, locks, then in case they need to do maintenance. So we've been actually actively engaging with carpenters and contractors to learn how to install the product as well. And we have the same Aristo product available without the services. So we'll do the measurement if required. We'll do the transportation at a extra cost, but the product is available at a much lower cost because it doesn't have the associated services with it. That's an important thing. If you see in terms of, I would say, skill, maybe areas where skill can be developed, I definitely think there's a lot of focus on factory-based skills. I still feel in India we need a lot of skill building on the installation side. And we were just talking a little earlier about the whole integration portion, right? And really carpenters need to actually orchestrate that whole integration process. It's, you cannot leave that to a plumber or an electrician or a granite installer. No, the carpenter needs to actually orchestrate that. So I think a lot of skill at the site level is
Anything
important.
is done on that front? Are you?
No, I've been in some conversations, but yeah, it is very important to move forward on that.
Thank you, Kuru,
Sure.
for joining us today.
Sure,
It was
sure.
a lovely conversation with you.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
in.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.